Welcome back to this already the final segment of today's Price of Business. I am your host, Kevin Price, talking to you about you and your business. Do you want to mention before we go into this interesting segment on technology, portions of this program are sponsored by The Price of ADHD, CAOOY, Sitters, etc., and Cornerstone Business Academy. Going to go to Wolfgang Zuckman and David Hall. They're of a company called, I think it's Velodyne. Is that how I pronounce it? Why don't you go ahead and correct me, Wolfgang?
No, I think it's just me, Dave Hall here.
Okay, Dave, tell me about first of all, did I get that company right, Velodyne?
Well, it's technically Velodyne Acoustics, which is a company I founded back in 1983. And basically, we sold a lot of home audio product. Actually, we still do.
By the way, my producer is really excited. He's familiar with your product and was thumbs up. And these guys are awesome, and he doesn't get excited very often. So apparently, you guys are awesome. Tell me a little bit about the company and really about the next great technology you guys are looking at.
Well, I'm the inventor of the LiDAR that's on top of the Google self-driving car. And there's a history behind that, which is I had this big factory here in California, and my subwoofer production had all gone to China, and I was trying to find something I could build into my factory that would fill it back up again. So I thought long and hard and got involved in the DARPA Grand Challenge and thought that they needed a better sensor, although that wasn't what the government was saying, but that's what I concluded. So then I sat down and invented this thing about 9 years ago, actually. So I made the first prototype, and since then it's sort of I've been watching and following and participating in the sort of evolution of the self-driving car, which is sort of at this point the best demonstration of that is this little two-seater, the Google car was introduced a few days ago.
Well, by the way, what is your interest? Obviously, you must have some interest just through the technology alone in the Google car.
Well, I supply the sensor. That's about it.
Okay.
So I'm gotten really good at making sensors, and I guess they've gotten really good at making cars drive by themselves. So it's sort of a symbiotic relationship.
Yeah, I guess so. That's kind of cool. And so you're the supplier of those sensors, which I'm hearing now these things are going to dominate the marketplace. You're talking about within 2 decades, more than 1/4 of all these cars will be self-driven.
2 decades? Oh,
yeah.
God, I hope it can't be that long.
You think it's sooner than that? When do you think?
Well, I would think 2 decades is a pretty long way out.
Well, I said within, so I gave me a little wiggle room.
Okay, you got wiggle room there, yeah. So
yeah.
I think you can for sure guarantee you'll be within that wiggle room, yeah.
Well, okay, really good. Well, so tell me what they're saying. You're on top of this. This is how you make your living. What are they saying as far as some benchmarks and when? Milestones?
No, I'm not on top of it. Nobody tells me anything. And in fact, most of my LiDARs don't go for self-driving cars. They're used for other purposes. So it's kind of an interesting little underground, I guess, I don't know, bunch of guys working away on this without really any long-term goals or plans so it's kind of a grassroots kind of operation, as far as I can tell. The car companies are trying to want to get involved, but fundamentally, talking about making a robot that drives a car, and a robot building doesn't really have that much to do with car building, so it's kind of far afield for what those guys are.
Kind of a stretch. So you think it's going to be someone other than, although I'm reading that BMW is extremely interested in this, but you're thinking that the leader may not have even had any car history who ends up making these things.
Yeah, I think it's going to happen somewhere in Silicon Valley around here, somewhere which is where I'm located. So I'm pretty sure it's someone local around. Some operation out of here is going to.
Yeah. My producer mentioned things like SpaceX, which is Richard Branson's work, and Tesla, which is being done by the guy who developed PayPal.
Yeah, that's Elon Musk. Yeah.
Thank you, Musk. Yeah. So, so something like that. That's not their background, but they're sure in that space.
Yeah, those guys are kind of busy. He's got a lot on his plate, and this autonomous thing isn't a slam dunk. It's nobody actually has one that works perfectly yet. So there's still some inventing to do on this thing, and inventing is a different process than production and or testing and such.
Right.
So,
Right, no question about that. I've been visiting with David Hall, and interesting conversation. What's that would you like people to check out to learn more about what you're doing?
Oh, I don't know. I just kind of keep my head down and keep working ahead on this, But I'm as interested in getting a self-driving car as anybody else, and in some ways, my enthusiasm for it, I really wish I had one. And, so it's kind of frustrating to see it moving along at such a slow pace, and sometimes I'm tempted to step in there and push it along even faster, just for vicarious thrills of owning one of these things.
Well, I think you should go ahead and do that, and as soon as you get your first one, let's get you back on the show. I see Velodyne here, VELODYNE.com. David Hall, the CEO of that company, our guest today. Talk about the next technology, and it certainly is a cool one. Thanks, David.
Thanks for having me on.
When we come back tomorrow, much more for you. I do want to remind you, best content here, it does show up over there at usdatareview.com. I'm Kevin Price. You've been listening to The Price of Business.